Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going somewhere. Somewhere the passion for football isn't just fandom, it's basically the nation's cultural operating system.
It really is. We're talking about Brazil.
We're going deep into how the sport literally dictates time, economics, and even national self-perception.
It's this incredibly intricate machine. And the research we've looked at doesn't just treat it as a popular sport, it frames it as a complete cultural system.
Right.
It's the mechanism for how millions of people communicate, how they manage their expectations, and sort of define their place in the world.
Exactly. So our mission today is to understand the 5 key pillars holding this whole system up. We're going from economics all the way to spiritual beliefs, even national psychology.
Yeah, it's a structure that honestly tells you more about Brazil than, a standard geopolitical analysis ever could.
Okay, let's unpack this.
And I think we have to start with the concept of time itself. Because when a big tournament is on, time just, it seems to bend.
It totally does. And nothing gets at that better than this phrase that kept popping up in our research, the year of 13 months. It sounds kind of whimsical, doesn't it? But it describes this profound societal shift, and it's tied directly to the World Cup.
It's not whimsical at all. It's systemic.
Yeah.
The major tournaments, they introduce what is functionally a 13th month, a time when all the normal rules of work and commerce are just suspended.
It's a nationwide pause.
A completely accepted one. The research outlines these staggering practical changes. Banks will literally change their hours,
They just close.
or they'll only open for a couple hours in the morning.
Right.
And schools, they often shut down completely when the Seleção is playing.
That's just amazing to think about, a socially sanctioned halt in productivity. You're basically saying that national solidarity is valued more than deadlines.
That's it, exactly.
I gotta say, I wish my office would adopt a year of 13 months policy.
Well, the documents we looked at really highlight how this shocks other cultures. It specifically mentions how this kind of shutdown is just baffling to, quote, strict cultures.
Like Germany or Japan.
Precisely. Places where efficiency is king. For them, a spontaneous commercial halt for a football match it's almost incomprehensible.
But for Brazil, it's just a necessary moment of collective identity. So, okay, the nation stops the clock to affirm who they are, but while that clock is stopped at home, the global transfer market is speeding up, right?
That's the paradox. Yeah. And it takes us right into that second pillar, the brutal reality of the export economy.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
We're moving from how time is managed to how value is managed.
Because the analysis is so blunt about it, it makes this industrial comparison, that Brazil treats its top players less like heroes and more like commodities.
That's the core analogy. When you talk about Brazil's big exports, you think of coffee, soy, iron ore. Yeah. The football system treats its players as basically the same kind of high-value commodity. They are, without a doubt, the country's most visible, most premium export product.
And the research points to the sheer speed of it. We're talking about the absolute best talent. Vinicius Jr., Neymar, and now this new kid, Endrick, being shipped out to European leagues.
And it's how early it happens. It's so striking. The analysis shows clubs scout and transfer these players before they even mature, often when they're still just teenagers.
So European clubs are basically buying futures contracts on these kids. They're buying potential.
Exactly. But that creates this huge internal contradiction, doesn't it? If you're constantly exporting your absolute best players, what does that do to your own domestic league?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. How does the research explain that? It seems like it would undermine the whole local product.
Well, that's the conflict. The main goal isn't necessarily to have the best possible domestic league. It's about generating capital for the training infrastructure. The domestic league becomes more of a farm system.
A development pipeline for European football?
That's the term for it.
Yeah.
And the economic upside for the Brazilian clubs is massive. It secures their funding. But the emotional cost for the fans back home, that is a different story.
It must be huge.
It is. Several commentators noted it creates this long-distance relationship between the fans and their idols. The guys who carry the nation's pride are having their best moments thousands of miles away. Madrid, Paris, Manchester. They only come home for international duty. It creates this constant sense of yearning.
They're heroes, but they're absent heroes. And if their physical presence is so fleeting, it makes sense that everyone, fans and players, would need to anchor their hopes in something deeper.
Something beyond just tactics and training.
Which brings us to the third pillar, the deep, syncretic role of religion on the field.
This is where that emotional vacuum you mentioned gets filled. Brazilian football is intensely spiritual. It's probably the most visible stage in the country for the intersection of faith and daily life.
You see it all the time, these incredibly public displays of faith right in the middle of the game.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, players praying after a goal, pointing to the sky, or wearing those shirts under their jerseys that say, "I belong to Jesus." It's a public confession right there on the pitch.
And it's more than just individual piety. The research says it reflects the powerful syncretism of Brazilian culture as a whole, this blending of different beliefs.
So Catholicism, evangelicalism.
And even traditions from Afro-Brazilian practices. It all gets mixed together in this cultural melting pot, and the football pitch becomes a microcosm of that.
So the intensity of the game is matched by the intensity of faith. A player isn't just relying on their training, they're looking for divine help to win.
It adds this whole metaphysical layer to the game. It's like belief itself becomes a tactical advantage.
A 13th player on the field.
That's a perfect way to put it. The divine is seen as a real, active participant in the formula for victory. And that reliance on something beyond human skill, it tells you everything about the pressure.
And that immense pressure is rooted in our fourth and maybe the most critical pillar of this whole system, the national psychology, the Vira-Lata complex.
Right. We're now getting into the why. Why is the year of 13 months necessary? Why the spiritual dependency? This explains it.
The term itself, Vira-Lata complex, it translates to the mongrel complex. The playwright Nelson Rodriguez coined it. But why? Why would a country that's so huge and culturally rich see itself as a mongrel?
Rodriguez coined the term after a really devastating World Cup loss in 1950, but the idea is older. It's a sociological term to explain Brazil's deep-seated national inferiority complex when it compares itself to the developed world.
So in things like technology, economics, global politics.
In almost all of it, yeah.
Yeah.
There's this cultural belief that they don't quite measure up.
Yeah.
That they're the underdog.
An assumption that we're going to fail.
Yes. But, and this is the absolute crucial caveat in all the research, football is the one massive exception to that rule.
Oh.
It's the only domain where Brazil feels, and has historically been, unequivocally superior, where they are the world beaters. And that dominance serves as this massive psychological counterbalance to the feeling of inadequacy everywhere else.
It all clicks into place now. Of course, the nation shuts down for the World Cup. It's not just a party. It's a mandatory search for national validation.
The country literally needs those wins to stay psychologically healthy.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
you see it all. The spiritual blending, the economic model, that national pause, it all serves this deep psychological need. The game isn't a distraction from reality. It's an essential defense mechanism against it. The stakes are just enormous.
And if the stakes are that high, the culture needs a shorthand, right? A way to communicate all this pressure and these values quickly. Which brings us to our fifth pillar, the everyday language itself.
Yes, the system has to maintain itself. Yeah. And it does that by coding football directly into daily conversation. You could not watch a game all year, and you'd still be speaking the language of football just to get through your day.
That's fascinating. So give us some examples. What are these terms that have jumped from the pitch into daily life?
Okay, a really common one is pisar na bola. Literally, it means to step on the ball.
Like a clumsy mistake, an unforced error.
Exactly. But in a conversation, it means you messed up. You botched a situation or even betrayed someone's trust. The grace of an athlete becomes the standard for, just basic good behavior.
So if I make a big social mistake, I pisei na bola.
You got it. Another great one is marcar tuca. It means being distracted, missing a clear opportunity, getting caught completely off guard.
I can see that being used in an office meeting.
Constantly. It's a way of telling someone to focus, to not miss the shot.
And what about on the positive side?
There's gol de placa. A plaque goal.
The plaque goal.
Yeah, a goal so beautiful, so masterful, that it deserves a commemorative plaque in the stadium. It's the ultimate praise for excellence. So by having terms for failure like pisar na bola and mastery, gol de placa, the culture is constantly reinforcing the values of the game in every conversation.
Okay, let's put it all together. This complete system. We have 5 interlocking gears. The year of 13 months manages time.
The export model manages economic value.
The syncretic religion manages faith and fate.
The Vira-Lata complex manages national self-esteem.
And the language itself manages daily communication. It's a perfect self-reinforcing cycle.
What the analysis really shows is that football provides this essential structure, identity, and just profound psychological relief for a nation dealing with a really complex place in the world. It's the one space where they are not just allowed, but expected to be the best.
And that's the thought I want to leave you with today, something to really think about. If a nation's entire sense of superiority is anchored this deeply to a game, if it's the main thing pushing back against a crippling inferiority complex, what happens to the national psyche when they lose? What kind of crushing pressure does that put on the players, who are also being treated like disposable commodities? Suddenly, the World Cup isn't just a tournament, it's a matter of national emotional survival.